Hey everybody, welcome back to World History. We're doing section 2 today, so go ahead and get your notes out and let's get started. So, what we're talking about today is more so looking at how the Spaniards started to take control of, well, basically the entire Western Hemisphere. By the mid 1500s, Spain owned land basically from California to South America, and the lands can be broken up into four main provinces. You labeled those on your map worksheets. That would be Mexico, Peru, being the big two. The King of Spain is also going to set up the Council of Indies to pass laws for the colonies, mainly because, the king is like all the way over here, and his colonies are all the way over here. They're nowhere near each other, so any issues that arise, the king's not there to deal with. He's also going to appoint viceroys or representatives to rule for the king in each province. Basically, think of this as the equivalent of like a governor. One of the other big things they tried to do was spread Christianity. This is gaining a following for Christianity, and this was just as important to them as gaining land. The Catholic Church will work with the government. As land expanded, so did Christianity. Spanish missionaries even forcibly imposed European ways on Native Americans, making them speak Spanish, cut their hair, wear European style clothing, anything to make them less Indian. One of the things they established was the encomienda system. This is a system of forced labor used by the Spanish on Native Americans. Basically, it's slavery, for lack of a better term. The natives had to work under brutal conditions if they could not pay tribute. Again, they wanted gold. Things like disease, starvation, and cruel treatment led to a decline in the native population. And if they resisted, they were killed. So, again, essentially, this functions as, well, essentially slavery. Uh, there are going to be some people that do take issue with that, though. One of them being Bartolome de las Casas, a pope of sorts. He urged colonists to import workers from Africa. So he was encouraging the African slave trade. He believed Africans were immune to diseases in the colonies, and he felt that they were more skilled in mining, farming, and metalworking, areas where they desperately needed people to work. This importing of slaves would further the brutal African slave trade that we talked about last chapter, and that we'll talk more about in a couple class periods as well. Now, in 1542, prodded by the work of Las Casas, Spain passed the new laws of the Indies in 1542. It forbade the enslavement and abuse of Native Americans. Okay, cool, that's great. However, Spain was too far away to enforce it. So many Native Americans were forced to become peons to pay off the debts owed. Basically, if you remember in U.S. history, you talked about the idea of debt slavery. This is debt slavery. In terms of society and culture, Spanish culture is going to dominate the cities. However, there was a very unique blending of diverse traditions that changed people's lives. New settlers learned Native American ways of building and boating, specifically canoes. And in return, the Europeans would teach their religion to the natives along with their language and a few other skills. And society is going to be a strictly layered one, made up of distinct social classes. Up at the top, you have the peninsulares. These are people that are from Spain, that were born in Spain. Second level, you have your Creoles. These are still, both their parents are Spanish, but they were born in the Americas. And then your lower level, you have the mixes of the population. You have the mestizos, those of Native American and European descent, and the mulattoes of African and European descent. One of the big things that did come from this was an emphasizing of education. Colonies are going to build universities to meet the church's need for educated priests, and in 1551, the University of Mexico will be established. By 1636, there'll be 12 Spanish American universities educating men before Harvard is established in what will be the United States. Women who wanted an education would join a convent, usually only being able to learn poetry, but it was still an education in some form. Beyond the empire, let's talk about the Portuguese real quick. The Portuguese nobles started building towns, churches, and plantations in Brazil. Just like the Spanish, though, they did force the natives to leave. The French, English, and Dutch are all going to resent Spain and Portugal, so they began sending out pirates or privateers after the treasure ships that would leave the Americas to steal the gold. Really, the rest of Europe had it out for Spain and Portugal, and their time in power isn't going to be much longer. All right, that is it for the notes for today. What you're going to do now, and this is a paper assignment, is up on the cart. There should be a reading on the Mayans, a reading on the Incas, and then reading on the Aztecs. You just have to pick one. You don't have to do all three. Just pick one and do it. It is, I believe, due next time. I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.